photographer Pete Souza quietly focused the lens of history, briefly on President Ronald Reagan and for 8 years on President Barack Obama. And he took his job very seriously.
The job as the chief official White House photographer is to visually document the presidency for history. Make authentic photographs. Think mood, emotion, context. Be ready for the fleeting moments, both big and small.
And over the years, Souza proved he was up to the task, from the hardest of days to the fun times in the Oval Office, and even the quiet moments with his family, the authentic moments of day-to-day life. But now, times have changed.
Unlike his predecessor, Mr. Trump does not allow his staff photographer to capture photographs of life and work inside the White House.
If you just stacked up the images of the Obama presidency and the Trump presidency, you would see the two stories of America in the starkest possible contrast.
A contrast Souza started to highlight with some very pointed social media posts of Obama's time in office. The path to that latest calling is all laid out in the new documentary, The Way I See It. And New Bedford's own Pete Souza joins me now, along with the film's director and producer Dawn Porter, who's also responsible for the fabulous film John Lewis, Good Trouble, which I could not more highly recommend. Dawn, good to meet you. Pete, good to see you again.
Thanks so much for having us
on.
So, Pete, you go from apolitical photographer to shade thrower in chief, even though you have no idea what throwing shade is, to this. Was your goal in this project to tell your story or to retell Barack Obama's?
I think my goal in agreeing to participate in this film was following Don's previous subject, John Lewis, who said, if you see something wrong, say something. And what I was seeing was wrong, and I felt I was in a unique position to be able to speak out in a very unique way, given that I saw the inside of two different presidencies, one Republican, one Democrat.
So is that what drew you, Dawn, to this? Was it the photographer? Was it the subject? Was it the subject's successor? What brought you into this?
I think it's actually, I was in the middle of working on the John Lewis movie, and Pete literally was doing what the congressman urged us all to do. Pete in his 60s became an outspoken, person, documenting the dangers of not having a person of responsibility in the White House. And I thought that was the perfect project to go to, but it also really expressed something that I was feeling. And Pete was just doing it so well.
Would there even, Dawn, be this film? Would we be seeing it if there was not a Donald Trump and if there was not an election imminent?
I don't think so. And I don't think Pete has said many times he wouldn't have started throwing shade if it was, a Romney or a Kasich or some other kind of standard bearer Republican. And I feel much the same way. Administrations come and go, but this is not the normal transfer of power. This is what we're seeing is a real destruction of civic norms, and that is dangerous.
Pete, you excel at painting contrasts, I'd say, as well as anybody I've ever seen. And the one that was the major moment for me is first this iconic photograph of Barack Obama and his colleagues in the Situation Room, obviously, as bin Laden is about to be taken. And the contrast with this, as forces are closing in on al-Baghdadi from ISIS. Tell us what you see when you see these two photographs.
Well, I think my picture is authentic in that I was in the room while the raid was taking place, and I think you can feel the tension. You can tell it's not posed. Whereas the other one, Trump's looking at the camera. It just looks fishy to me. It doesn't feel, you don't feel anything looking at that picture.
you mentioned, I played in the introduction to you that Donald Trump does not provide unlimited access. One of the things, I know you're asked this all the time, it is stunning to mere mortals like me that the most powerful person in the world is willing to say to someone like you, and I think this was your condition for taking the job, I need unlimited access. Occasionally you would decide after taking a picture, and for example, in an intimate family moment, that it was enough. Was there ever a time Barack Obama said, Pete, please, not this?
Look, he was, I learned to know that if he was having a one-on-one meeting, you know, with someone that he wanted it, you know, he wanted to be able to have a private conversation, which wouldn't mean that I wouldn't make pictures, but I wouldn't be in there, you know, the whole hour or whatever. Or if he was having, you know, once a week he had lunch. He would have lunch with Joe Biden. And I actually photographed the beginning of every lunch. But again, you know, that was their time together. It's like, I'm not going to like stay in the room during their whole lunch while they're having their private conversation. That's just like common sense more than anything.
You know, speaking of working relationship between two people, Biden and Obama, Dawn, how did it work out that you're working with a guy who thinks the most beautiful way to portray a human being is in a still photograph with a woman who is devoted to the moving picture? How did that, was there conflict there, or was it as seamless as it turned out?
No, I wouldn't say it was a conflict, but I think it was a challenge. But, you know, my dad was a commercial photographer. I have a lot of reverence for the still image. That's really, you know, at one time I thought I might be a photographer. But, you know, I took it to when I figured out that you could make the pictures talk, I was really hooked. But I think that there is such an elegance in the framing of each image that allows you to settle and think about it, that I really wanted this film to be a celebration of the still image. We are living in such a fast society where everything is, you know, boom, boom, boom. And, you know, there's something timeless about the still image that you can come back to over and over again. And you see different things depending on where you are in your life. And I think that that's really worth celebrating.
You know, I want to ask you both what you hope a viewer's takeaway is. I can tell you what mine was, whether it's looking at the photographs of the president with Corey Remsburg and his relationship, a guy who suffered greatly after an IED in Afghanistan, images of him hugging mothers and family members in Sandy Hook, images with his family, the infamous or famous Jacob Philadelphia, little 5-year-old boy touching the hair of the I mean, it's just, it makes you cry. What comes through to me more than anything else is the common humanity of the most powerful person on the planet. Dawn, what did you hope I and people like me would take away from this?
I hope that we value decency, compassion, and empathy in our political leaders, and that we don't think that those are add-ons. Those are fundamental. Those are essential. We need to have a person who can comfort the nation in times of crisis. That's as important as a person who is intellectually gifted. In Barack Obama, we had both. But this film is not about celebrating President Obama's legacy. It's, you know, it's definitely about showing what a competent, caring, empathetic human person is as our leader.
Boy, does it come through. You know, Pete, before you go, in most households, if you were to say, what's the major accomplishment of Barack Obama, I assume most people would say the Affordable Care Act. I'm guessing in your household it would be that you and Patty Leese might not be a married couple were it not for Barack Obama. I learned that in the film. Is that true? He convinced you and your longtime partner to finally tie the proverbial knot? That's the story, yes?
Yeah, that's definitely the story. We would still be together. I don't know that we would be married, though. He kind of forced that. I
love the smile on your face. He was relentless from what you say, right? He never took the pressure
Yeah,
off until you finally
did
did
it go. It became a topic of conversation every week.
And where did you two get married, please?
Well, we ended up getting married in the Rose Garden.
You did.
Yes.
How many kids from New Bedford and South Dartmouth do you know have been married in the Rose Garden? Do you have that count or no?
Well, it's only the third wedding ever in the Rose Garden, and I don't think any of them were from New Bedford.
I would say that's probably true. Pete, the film is terrific, as is your work. And Dawn, once again, you have really done it. Thank you both, and I hope everybody sees this. Thanks for your time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
Pleasure. The film, again, is The Way I See It. You can watch it now in select theaters or catch its TV debut tomorrow at 10 on MSNBC.